on the wall. The woman was on top of the wall. She was working hard. Though the sun was rising in the sky, it had not yet reached the point where it was uncomfortably hot. She was laying out stalks of flax to dry. It was good crop her brothers had brought in from the country. She would soon be spinning the fibres to make linen cloth and grinding the seeds to make flour. The pretty blue flowers? Once they were dried, she would make those into decorations to brighten up the house. The woman took great pleasure in her work. It was healthy and honest. She had done things in her life to make money which were neither honest nor healthy. Things for which some people would never forgive her. Working hard helped her to forget, at least for a little while. The woman's name was Rahab. It means long and deep, like the wall on which she was working. You see, the wall was the roof of her house, and the one next to it, and the one next to that, and the one next to that, and many more houses all joined together in a gigantic circle, form the wall of the great city, the city of Jericho. Jericho means new moon, and it was probably so called because it was built on a crescent-shaped plain. Bordering it to the north and west was a semicircle of mountains forming a giant amphitheatre. A pass through these led to the interior of the land of Canaan. The city stood like a colossal custodian guarding the gateway to the country. As her name suggested, Rahab was a thinker. She thought long and deep as she spread out the stalks about the hot topic on everyone's lips in Jericho. As if she were expecting something, she kept glancing across towards the east. There, on the other side of the river Jordan, trouble was brewing. Something dark, something terrible that was causing people's hearts to melt with fear throughout the land, and was coming closer and coming soon. Rahab ran an open house. Traders and tradesmen, working people who were passing through, could get a hot meal or a bed for the night. In the city wall and close by the gate, it was always busy. If you wanted to know the latest news from the north, south, east or west, all you had to do was go to Rahab's house and listen. Rahab had noticed two men when they came in, sitting now eating their meal. Dusty desert Arabs who looked slightly out of place indoors. They were the kind who usually camped in the square with their animals. But then it dawned on Rahab where they were from. Just at that moment, two of her regulars, two of the king's men, slipped out in a hurry, and she realised that they too had worked out who the men were. Rahab knew they were in danger, and with little explanation rushed them out up onto her roof, where she hid them beneath the stalks of flax. Not before time as the king's men returned with an armed guard and demanded that she bring out the two strangers. "They're Israelites," they barked, "sent here to spy out the land." Rahab played dumb. "Those men? I didn't know them. They left shortly after you to get out of the gate before it's shut for the night. If you're quick, you may overtake them." She must have sounded convincing, or maybe it was because the men knew her and trusted her, but they headed out immediately in pursuit towards the river Jordan, to the east in the direction of the coming storm. Rahab went up to the roof to the men. She said, "I know the Lord has given you this land. We have heard how he dried up the water of the Red Sea when you came out of Egypt. All who live in this country are melting in fear because of you. The Lord your God is God in heaven above and on the earth below. Please show kindness to my family because I've been kind to you. Spare the lives of my father and mother, my brothers and sisters." "Our lives for your lives," the men said. "If you don't tell what we're doing, we will treat you kindly when the Lord gives us land. Tie this scarlet cord around the window. Bring your family into the house and you will be safe." She let them down by a rope through the window on the outside of the city wall. It started several weeks ago with that sound. A noise like a muffled drumming or shuffling coming from the direction of the river. From the rooftop, we could see the dust rising on the horizon. When the scouts came back, they said the people, the Israelites, were moving, crossing the river. They had this box which some men, priests, were carrying on their shoulders like a coffin. When they stepped in the river, it stopped flowing. The water piled up in a great heap. The people swarmed across the dry riverbed like ants carrying their belongings on their backs. Millions of them, you couldn't count them, like stars in the sky. Now their soldiers, tens of thousands of them, have been circling the city for days. With that box in front of them, it's eerily silent. But sometimes the priests blow trumpets which echo back from the mountains. Our men, our soldiers, frozen they are with fright. The city's all locked up, the gates barred, no one in, no one out. Today's different. They've marched round 7 times. My mother and father, brothers and sisters are all here in the house. We're terrified. I keep checking the scarlet cord in the window. They won't remember. There are millions of them. They won't remember me. There, a long blast on the trumpets. It hurts my ears. A roar. It's shouting. They're all shouting. It's deafening. It's rumbling. It's an earthquake. I can't look. It's cracking. It's crashing. The walls they're holding. Now they're banging at the door and shouting. The girls are crying. Mum's sobbing. The men are white and covered in dust. The door crashes in. It's the 2 men, the spies, bursting into the room. You're safe. We're here. We've come to get you. Rahab and her family pick their way through the rubble, following the 2 men. The smoke from the smouldering house fires and the wreckage of their city chokes them. As they're led away across the plain, they look back and see the walls of the city are completely gone. But for their house is still standing with the cord in the window. The spies reassure them with soothing words. Their commander, Joshua, sent them to bring her out. There is a place prepared for them. Rahab only asks for her family to be spared. But as he does so often, God gave her much more. A new family, a new people, a new place, a name that is remembered today. She became the great-great-grandmother of one of Israel's greatest kings, and a forebear of the greatest of all the kings. Not because she was a good person, she really wasn't that, and not because she did a good thing in saving the spies, but because Rahab believed in God, and believed he would do for his people just what he had promised. Her name was written in the book of life.